the Regional Development Policy 20 by 10 of the DPRK. I'm sure you all want to learn more about this, don't you? A new era of regional transformation has dawned in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Buckingham Palace has announced the death of His Royal Highness, the Duke of Edinburgh. Base drop. According to the new policy of regional development that began to be implemented in 2024, modern regional industry factories have already been built in the regions, whose area is equivalent to 1/5 of the country's territory. Besides the new offshore farms which went online in Simpho and Rangwon County, South Hamgyong Province are promoting the development in these regions. In 2025, as part of additional measures for the extension of this policy, new hospitals and leisure complexes were built in some cities and counties so that local residents can enjoy modern civilization. Also, the projects of building new houses in the rural communities have gone full steam ahead year after year, affording a glimpse into how the Korean people's ideals are coming true, and how the comprehensive development of the state is progressing. The mass media organs of the DPRK are busy giving coverage to the groundbreaking and inaugural ceremonies of the above facilities, with the news of people moving into new houses coming under spotlight. Credit for this amazing reality goes to the Workers' Party of Korea and the government of the DPRK, which are consistent in pursuing policies for the benefit of the people, particularly the Regional Development 20 by 10 policy, which was named so in January 2024, is unprecedented in the history of the DPRK. The gist of the Regional Development Policy. Advanced by the Workers' Party of Korea, the Regional Development 20 by 10 policy is aimed at turning all the regions of the country into ideal places for the people to live in. This is a 10-year plan, which involves laying solid foundations for the development of the regions through the promotion of industrial growth in a comprehensive, balanced, and characteristic way, and building essential facilities, including hospitals, leisure complexes, and grain storages. The essence of the new Regional Development Policy. The Regional Development Policy was adopted at the 10th session of the 14th Supreme People's Assembly of the DPRK on January 15, 2024. The essence of the policy is to eliminate the centuries-old backwardness of the regions, promote the well-being of all the people, and defend their rights and interests by pushing ahead with the regional industry revolution. It had long been taken for granted that there is a gap between the capital city and the provinces, and that the countryside falls behind the towns. This led to the drawn-out stagnation of the regions in the country. The WPK adopted the above policy as it could not state proudly that the comprehensive development of the Korean-style socialism and the state was on track, while leaving intact the imbalance between the centrally run and regional run industries and the gap in the living standards between the capital citizens and the regional populations. It has since pressed on with projects for the implementation of the policy. Each development of all the regions is an objective of the comprehensive prosperity of the state, and finally, of socialist and communist construction, as stated by the WPK. The WPK is committed to ensuring the even development of all the regions, so that all the people of the country lead an abundant and cultured life while enjoying all the benefits of socialism. And the first part of that, of course, is the construction of the regional factories. The regional industry is established with the aim of mainly satisfying the regional demand for consumer goods by enlisting locally available raw materials. As its production bases and places of consumption, consumers and suppliers are not far away from one another. The cost of its raw and other materials are low, and the cost for the transportation of raw materials, production, and marketing are relatively low. It is also possible to lower the prices of consumer goods and increase the income of the regional people in a systematic way by reducing social labor production. Shit. This is truly a planned market, a planned economy. It's like Juche or something. The main goal of Regional Development 20 by 10 policy is to renovate the industries in the country's cities and counties, totaling more than 200 in 10 years, by building modern factories in 20 cities and counties every year.
Juche is what's happening on this planet, y'all.
A consistent principle maintained in implementing this policy is that the level of modernization of new factories should be steadily improved as they are built year after year. Setting a higher goal and making an uninterrupted advance and a leap forward, this is a key requirement to be met in executing the regional development strategy. And here you have a look at some of the factories being built. Here, I'll do this like this so you can see it even better. Look at this. These are some of the regional factories built under this policy. We have clothing stores there being built, as it said, using local raw materials, locally sourced things sourced from local areas, and manufacturing needed consumer goods that region requires, which also lowers the transportation costs. Another principle is that regional industries should be developed in a comprehensive, balanced, and characteristic way. To develop the regional industries in a balanced way means to ensure a good balance in increasing the speed and the level of industrial development in all the cities and counties by taking into account the local populations and economic potentials. To this end, it is important to set an optimal size for every factory and arrange its production lines in a reasonable way, as suited to the sizes of the cities and counties, the residents' demand, local economic potentials, etc. To develop the regional industries in a characteristic way means to develop the industries in cities and counties in conformity with their physiographical features and in consideration of the locally available natural resources. The key factor in doing so are to build the production lines in conformity with the physiographical features of the relevant regions and in consideration of locally available raw and other materials. Explore and make active use of raw and other materials available in the region, and to protect and promote local specialities, to use them to good effect in developing the regional economy. Another goal of the regional development policy is that the regional industry factories should focus on improving the quality of their products and increasing their product range and in keeping with regional characteristics. To this end, it is indispensable for every new factory to set up a proper quality control system, learn about the customer's opinion on a regular basis, and to adjust production lines accordingly, and establish a climate of the producers working with pure conscience to ensure good product quality. God damn, can you imagine producers actually caring like that? Instead of the producers making your consumer goods, caring about the fucking person owning the factory and the shareholders making the most amount of money. Imagine if the producers in your region cared about you and serving the people and how much the people like the product and how it could be improved. It's like one of the most famous stories that I love, to bring it to our comradely Marshal Kim Jong-un. I like that the story where he goes to the bag factory, right? And he's touring this bag factory and he tries on the school bag. And he says, "Well, these straps are too thin. kids these days are carrying lots of books in their school bags, and these straps will be uncomfortable on them after a long time of walking with their backpacks on. And so the factory, they change their production to have wider straps. Here it would be it's the direct opposite logic that is at work under capitalism, or here, right? Where it's like, well, whatever the cheapest material you can get is what you should do. And in fact, when you have a product that is like unique or bespoke in some way or is doing something different, what will end up happening is it'll be successful for a while. And then, of course, there will be an economic downturn. And because they might not have reached the level of the bourgeoisie, of course, the owners of that factory are essentially cast into the proletariat, the founders of that idea, and their business is bought by somebody else. And then it's streamlined in the sense of making more profit for the owners, which means cheaping out on materials, taking shortcuts, layoffs, all kinds of that kind of thing, right? Or in the case of the canvas bag from Follow Special Edition, just didn't work on launch. Yeah, exactly. It is also necessary for regional industry factories to conduct an extensive campaign for overtaking and modeling after others, and sharing experience with one another, as a part of an effort to improve the quality of their products and increase their product range. All of these are fundamental to ensuring that the modern regional industry factories to be built in each region render a substantial contribution to improving residents' standard of material life. One of them great American instrument companies is cannibalizing itself through lawfare, after subsequently doing all those other things. Private equity at its finest. Yep. I mean, the contradictions are just like blinding. They're like staggering. Whereas when you don't reject when you don't worship anachronistic, like, just chaotic anarchism in like production, when you don't worship that, even though planning is still a necessary thing that has to happen, then you see what kind of thing can be developed. Of course, they can't ever do that, because to do such a thing would be to develop like collectivist consciousness, and then the outcome of that is to give power to the people. That's the thing they have to fight against inherently. Okay, my food is almost here, so I'll read this section and then I'll eat. Construction of offshore farms. And actually, we'll get a good look at these offshore farms. The 10th plenary meeting of the 8th Central Committee of the WPK adopted a decision on building an offshore farm in the city of Sinfo, as befits a new model of offshore farming, as part of a measure to provide a substantial guarantee for the regional industry revolution. To secure a driving force for regional economic development by making active use of locally available resources and physiographical conditions in every region is a major requirement of the Regional Development 20 by 10 policy. In order to implement this new regional development policy and ensure that it contributes to improving regional populations' living standards, all cities and counties should have appropriate conditions for developing the regional economy, in keeping with their local features. Adjoined by the two sides, the country will produce large amounts of seafood. Adjoined by the sea of two sides, the country will produce large amounts of seafood in an industrial way by building modern offshore farms. This will make a tangible contribution to the regional development, particularly the normal operation of regional industry factories, and to the improvement of local residents' standard of living. Recently, new offshore farms were built in the city of Sinfo, Rangwon County, and projects have provided valuable experience in this regard. An important task facing cities and counties in laying solid foundations for the development of the regional economy is to make effective use of the sea in coastal regions and the mountains and mountainous regions, and promote tourism wherever appropriate resources are available. Cities and counties should constantly expand the space for their economic development. They can do so by setting a proper direction in long term development and drawing up reasonable plans for tapping all the conditions and resources in ways that will contribute to developing the regional economy, and also by effectively using and developing the local economic resource potentials. And here's some pictures of the offshore farms that were built. This is the Sinfo one here. I'll give you this again. I get intimidated trying to imagine all the necessary work getting done without the profit motive. But then I remember it's literally been done. Yeah, and I mean, the DPRK, that's why DPRK is so, like, inspiring to me, RT. Because it shows, like, despite the sanctions, despite all the isolating moves of the imperialist, it shows how much a society can develop and serve its people when it's actually built with, like, the people in mind, when it's built for serving the people. The enormous amount of, like, productive forces that has been poured into developing, like, you know, the West Sea barrage to improve farmland, these, like, offshore farms and regional developments, hospitals all over the fucking country, you know? Like, see, here's the farm they built there. Look, this is like an eel weir here. I get intimidated trying. All of the AI data centers come to Florida because they have the most freely available fresh water. Yep. Look at how lovely this is. Chat. So see this, so these are the people that, like, this is a community right here in DPRK that was built, planned for people that are working and living in this, working at this offshore farm. And what you have in DPRK is a very, like, meticulously planned community. So you can see the multi-housing units all around. And then you have, like, a town square down here in the left-hand corner. Right here, right? You see there's, like, a little middle structure. There's, like, buildings all around. That would be, like, for festivals and local festivities. Mass dances, things like that would be held there. That building up above it with the round piece and the thing next to it, that's probably like the central. Well, all those buildings kind of down that center line there, including the one behind that round building. Those are, like, party meeting halls, library, the, like, local library or computer center, etc. Off here, this is like the work. That's the big part of the fish farm. Same with, of course, all the buildings up around the shore. You got multi-dwelling housing units over here. You got some single dwelling ones up there. Looks like a few right up at the front, some over here on this side on the left. And what's amazing is, like, even though this is a rural community, it's designed in a way that you can all walk to each other's homes. And then one of these low buildings here, probably, I don't know for sure, but probably, knowing what I know about the DPRK, one of these is probably like the community armory. Which would be like, if they were invaded, each community has an armory. You're encouraged, of course. It's not, unlike South Korea, by the way, it's not legally required that you serve in the Korean People's Army. That's actually a misnomer. That's not true. That's actually completely voluntary in DPRK. The people who choose to serve in the KPA do so because they want to serve in the Korean People's Army. And then there's also another group, of course, called the Worker Peasant Red Guards as well, which are sort of like a similar thing, but they're more of like a voluntary militia, right? And they're the alternative where you see in a lot of countrysides. And the idea like that you're highly encouraged to participate in either the worker peasant red guard or in the KPA, so that as many community members in any given community are able to like go to that armory, grab rifles, and fight the imperialists if that need should ever arrive. To include the construction in every city and every county of three essential facilities: hospital, leisure complex, and grain storage. In the Regional Development 20 by 10 policy was on the agenda for the 11th plenary meeting of the 8th Central Committee of the WPK. This meant an extension of the regional development policy to economic and cultural realms. The WPK's intention in building modern hospitals in cities and counties is to protect the lives of the residents and promote their health. In the past era, solidifying the foundations for the public health sector has presented itself as a task that has a direct bearing on the security of the state and its future. And the people's demand has grown remarkably for the protection of their lives and the promotion of their health. Such being the case, the WPK is intent on prioritizing the development of the public health sector over the improvement of the people's material life. With regard to the construction of modern hospitals in cities and counties, the WPK has laid down a set of principles to ensure practicability and functionality while avoiding a waste of money, to fix reasonable sizes and suitable sites for these hospitals, to set up first aid posts between the hospitals and the clinics, and to ensure adequate supply of medicines and effective training of medical workers. And here's an example of one of the regional hospitals built. This is Kangdong County Hospital as an example of the regional development you see. Yo, Chimera, 25 streams, let's go. Thank you so much for your continued viewing support, comrade. Means a ton. Actually, that reminds me, since now I see you in chat, it reminds me I've been meaning. Wait, Chimera, type something else. You're typing into that what doesn't allow me to tag you yet. I need you to type any other thing, hi or whatever. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. Because now I can go like this, and I can give you the VIP badge that you should have. I'm all out of artist badges, so you got the VIP badge instead. Thank you for the artwork you helped provide us with for Tank Tube, comrade. That was the point. The construction of multifunctional leisure complexes in cities and counties is an indispensable part of the above regional development policy. A leisure complex will comprise. Oh, wow. Sorry, I have not read this before either, but I love this. I love this right here. Listen to this. This is what they're talking about with the leisure. Hold on. Larry needs to settle down. It's all right. Socialism is awesome. Just this is cool though. Look, the leisure complex here, what it includes. A leisure complex will comprise a sci-tech learning base, furnished with the latest IT means, facilities for the people to see films and enjoy sports and cultural activities, commercial outlets with a clean sanitary environment, and various other welfare service facilities. It will render a contribution to educating the local residents and improving their cultural life. I love that the leisure complex is a combination of learning facility and cultural facility. Is a VIP like getting a Hero of the Juja Gang stream medal? Well, sort of. It's reserved really for Tank Tube members, but Chimera, of course, is an honorary Tank Tube member. of course. The core of this leisure complex is a library, in which there should be a high performance server and enough computers commensurate with the size of a given city or county and its population, and which will have sci-tech learning space, online lecture rooms, e-reading rooms, and other type reading rooms. The leisure complex will also include commercial outlets with a clean sanitary environment and various other welfare service facilities, all designed to provide convenience for the local residents in their living and meet their cultural needs. Bathhouse, barbers, beauty parlor, laundry, cinema, shops for selling local products such as daily necessities, foodstuffs, school things and furniture, restaurants for serving local specialities, market stalls, etc. And the third essential project is to build a grain storage in every city and every county. As a comprehensive and integrated facility that is indispensable to regional development, the grain storage is intended for the drying, processing, and storing of grains. It will be provided with necessary equipment for the treatment of rice, wheat, and other grains in order to integrate all the processes of their drying, selection, processing, and storage. And it will also be furnished with effective means for scientifically and automatically controlling all elements, such as those for optimal temperature and humidity, and sterilization for insect control. In the near future, when the above mentioned 3 projects are brought to completion, with regional industry factories in all the cities and counties, all the regions will be in a position to provide their populations with more improved living standards, based on the foundations of light industry and the sustained development environment that relies on modern civilization and technology, and furthermore bring about a significant advance in implementing the comprehensive development program of the state, with a progress in science, education, and public health as the core driving force. And so here's some pictures here. This is an example of one in the leisure facilities. This is Kangdong County Leisure Complex. So up on the left here, we can see a boy that looks like in a gym here. And of course, there's somebody employed there to assist you, even though it's a free leisure complex, because the society is not run by profit motive. There's the outside of the leisure complex on the right. The market inside the leisure complex right below that. And there's the IT Learning Center at the bottom. As mentioned above, the Regional Development 20x10 policy is designed to meet the basic material and cultural needs of the people throughout the country and achieve the prosperity of the state. Chapter 2. Policy oriented towards independent development of the regions. The Regional Development 20x10 policy is oriented towards achieving independent development of the regions on a long-term, sustainable and steady basis by building up human, material, and technical means, and all the other forces and potentials of the region under the guidance and assistance of the state. In view of both the lessons drawn from the annals of regional development that has remained stagnant over the past decades, and the prospective requirements that regional development should be a powerful driving force for the development of the state, the issue of each region building up its own self-supporting development capability is the key to successful implementation of the policy. Hell yes. I gotta press the button again, chat.
Juche is what's happening on this planet, y'all.
Ensuring a high level of spiritual and cultural preparedness. What is most important, Bri, welcome in. What is most important in building up the self-supporting developmental capability of cities and counties is the spiritual and cultural preparedness of the people, who will develop the economy and culture in their regions.
Over the years from people, If we could find a book with someone that had similar problems,
Juche.
just take what they wrote down in the book and make it. Fuck. Sorry, Trina. Take what they wrote down and make it ours.
We have a request here for a quote in the chat. Seeing that this is Juche's day, of course, you get a DPRK leader, always, on Juche's day. Here's one by Kim Jong-il on why the building of socialism in Korea is so important to them beyond just protection of their own people and development of their own people. Kim Jong-il said, quote, "Building our style of socialism more successfully is a lofty historic mission entrusted to us, not only for the prosperity of our motherland and the happiness of our people, but also for the ultimate victory of the cause of independent humanity, the socialist cause." Comrade Kim Jong-il. Everybody go follow Comrade Bry, your guy. He's Bry, your guy. Okay, we read that part. Right, we're here. It is necessary to train many talented personnel who are qualified spiritually and culturally in order for every city and every county to ensure smooth operation of their modern regional industry factories, and to make effective use of their specific conditions in achieving varied and characteristic development. The Regional Development 20x10 policy makes it possible to bring a turn in the realms of understanding and ideological consciousness of the regional people who are responsible for regional development, so as to rouse their awareness and creativity, their enthusiasm as befitting masters. When they use goods produced in their own region, receive advanced medical service, and enjoy culture and leisure activities, no inferior to those in the capital city, the regional people will have confidence in the validity of the socialist cause and their own strength, and devote their wisdom and zeal for the development of their own regions. The regional development policy plays a great role in training the regional people in technical and cultural aspects. The hospitals and multifunctional leisure complexes to be built in all the cities and counties make it possible to promote the health of the regional people, help them keep up to date with the latest scientific advances, and provide them with sustenance of civilization without interruption, so that talented personnel capable of running modern industry on their own can be identified and trained. Sci-Tech learning bases, furnished with databases of various up-to-date sci-tech achievements, will help the regional people have ready access to modern science and civilization and acquire the insight and qualifications needed for leading their regional economic and cultural development. In the course of such cultural leisure activities, they will prepare themselves to be pioneers and creators of a new culture. When the populations in cities and counties are fully prepared spiritually and culturally, their self-supporting development capability will be increased remarkably, and this will result in building up the national strength. And laying solid material technical foundations, of course, is an important aspect of this. And thus, this book continues. Cities and counties should lay solid material and technical foundations for improving the local residents' living standards, running their economy by themselves, and thus achieving regional prosperity. By implementing the Regional Development 20x10 policy, they can modernize the regional industry factories and solidify the foundations for the development of regional economy. Development of the regional industry immediately means the development of the regional economy. Modernization of regional industry factories makes it possible to increase the output of products with locally available resources and accelerate the growth of regional industry. Industry, agriculture, commerce, and other economic sectors in cities and counties are closely linked together through production and consumption. They form an organic entity, i.e., a regional economy, That's that social metabolism. So, it is by developing the regional industry that every region can establish close ties between industry and agriculture, and between production and consumption, and strengthen the production consumption relations. This will result in boosting the consumption of industrial and agricultural products, and facilitating the expansion of commerce. All this will be helpful towards increasing agricultural workers' zeal for production and facilitating agricultural development in relevant regions. The regional development policy will ensure every region to make the most of locally available raw and other materials and solidify the foundations for the development of regional economy. As the regional industry relies on locally available raw and other materials, every region should ensure regular production of the newly built regional industry factories by building up their own raw material bases, tapping into their economic resources to the maximum. According to the new regional development policy, a nationwide emulation drive. And if you don't know what an emulation drive means, it means it's socialist competition, basically. It means it's like a friendly socialist competition. It's like, look, we're championing this mine for, overfilling its production capability. Don't you want to be like this? Fulfill the Comilla movement? You want to be like the workers at like Sungwon Mine or whatever, right? Like that's what an emulation drive is. Contrary to the narrative of like some of the liberals, there is competition under socialism. It's just healthy competition that recognizes also the need for cooperation. So, a nationwide emulation drive will get underway to make active use of the reserves and potentials, as suited the physiographical, economic, and cultural characteristics of the relevant regions, including those of mountainous, lowland, coastal, and industrial areas. The people across the country will make efforts to lay the groundwork for the development of regional economy and the improvement of the living standards. In mountainous areas, they will focus on collecting and storing such natural resources as wild fruits, medicinal herbs, and industrial crops, and building raw materials bases. In coastal areas, they will work hard to increase the production of seafood, including fish and seaweeds, and make tasty and nutritious products with them. In the areas with favorable conditions for livestock farming, they will develop animal husbandry. In the areas with favorable conditions for tourism, they will focus on developing tourism. And in the areas with building stones and other natural resources, they will use them to good effect. In this way, all cities and counties will develop their regional industry in a characteristic way and increase their developmental potentials. In a nutshell, the new regional development policy is mainly aimed at fostering the self-sufficiency of the regions by all means, while ensuring effective guidance and assistance by the state. Thank you, mods, for immediately banning that. Jesus Christ. Chapter 3. I'm just gonna pretend I did not even read that, actually. Chapter 3. No, nobody did. Other than mods. Mods were the only one that could see that message. It wasn't good. I'll just say that. The validity 3. Perfectly feasible policy. The validity and vitality of a line or a policy are proved through practice. Any line or policy that cannot be translated into reality, or whose feasibility is not guaranteed, will serve no purpose. A regional development 20 by 10 policy is one whose implementation is fully guaranteed. Based on rich experience, the regional development 20 by 10 policy is, above all else, scientific, since it was formulated after its feasibility was confirmed in all aspects through the stage of gaining rich experience. In March 2021, the first workshop of Chief Secretaries of City and County Committees of the WPK was held, in which a new policy orientation was defined for opening up a new era of regional development. It was to gain experience by building regional industry factories in the Kim Hwa County on an experimental basis and operating them normally to suit the specific conditions of the region. And after reviewing their cost effectiveness, profitability, and practicality to build similar modern regional industry factories in all cities and counties across the country. So you see that? See how even though they have, of course, the scientific guide of Marxism-Leninism, right? And the understanding of capital, notice how they still didn't rely on just knowing that this would work. Notice that they first did a test. They put it into practice. They have the theory, they put it into practice, and then they confirm that theory through practice and perfected it. Which is why, of course, they then added the leisure complex, the regional complex, the hospital, and the granary storage. That's dialectical materialism. That's what it can do for you. Kim Hwa County in Gangwon Province is a mountainous region with unfavorable physiographical features and poor economic conditions. The area under cultivation is no more than 9.4% of the county's entire area. Worse still, the region was hit by heavy rainfall in September 2020. Now, modern regional industry factories in the county are set up and running to bring substantial benefit to the residents. This showed that if similar regional industry factories were built in other cities and counties, they could produce popular consumer goods. The products from the factories in Kim Hwa County enjoyed popularity at several exhibitions held in the capital city in Gangwon Province. In the course of modernizing these factories, experience was accumulated, and solutions were sought to the problems that might arise in the operation of the regional industry factories to be built in other regions of the country, including those of defining their sizes and production capacities, providing them with manpower, materials, and funds, training technicians and skilled workers in a far-sighted way, and creating raw material bases. As for the construction of new regional industry factories, higher standards have been established than those for the ones in Kim Hwa County. The principle of being maintained of setting more advanced architectural styles on modernization levels, i.e., steadily introducing new things with innovative and creative attitude, instead of mechanically modeling after and emulating the factories in the county. State measures have been taken to this end by drawing on the above experience. Supported by the people. The successful implementation of the Regional Development 20x10 policy is firmly guaranteed by the active support of all the people. A policy can give full play to its vitality only when the masses sympathize with it and accept it as their own. This is the most precious and greatest strength that provides a sure guarantee for the successful implementation of the policy. The Regional Development 20x10 policy is welcomed by all the Korean people, as it reflects their ardent aspiration and demand for a more affluent and cultured life. The DPRK regards the happy laughter of the people as an absolute criterion for assessing the strength of the country. Embodied in the policy is the desire of the regional people to enjoy a life no inferior to that of the urban areas, free from the backwardness that has existed for decades in these regions. Every word and every figure in the policy are symbolic of the WPK's affection for the people, as it is committed to taking responsibility for the living of the regional people with parental care, The WPK never fails to carry out any project which is in the interest of the people. And this is the mode of its creation. That is why the people accept the Regional Development 20 by 10 policy as their own, fully convinced that it will surely implement it with credit. They actively support it and work hard for its successful implementation, witnessing the appearances of ever-changing local areas. In the course of implementing the policy, they harden their resolve to dedicate all their wisdom and passion to its full implementation. And I'm assuming this is like a final word here. I meant to press this.
Juche is what's happening on this planet, y'all.
It is easier said than done to transform a country in a matter of 10 years. All the regions in the DPRK have to secure enough potentials for their sustainable development based on modern civilization and technology, and providing the local residents with a new, better life. All the regions, however, are changing day by day, thanks to the sincere efforts made by the service personnel and other people. Through the first-hand experience, everyone has realized the validity and vitality of the leadership of the WPK, which makes selfless, devoted efforts for the prosperity of the country and the well-being of the people, as well as of its regional development policy. Keep in mind, we are still 6 subs away from the bonus movie, DPRK movie. The respected comrade Kim Jong-un, while leading the efforts to implement this policy in the first year of its adoption, steadily expanded the scope for its implementation, as he committed himself to protecting the lives of the regional people, promoting their health, and providing them with sufficient conditions for a cultural life. He initiated, including the construction in every city and every county, of 3 essential projects: hospital, leisure complex, in the above policy. Afterwards, he paid special concern to the building of modern hospitals in cities and counties. He once said that it was his first and foremost cherished desire to have a city and county hospitals built, which would greatly contribute to improving the regional public health situation, which is relatively inferior, and protecting the lives and security of the regional people, and promoting their health. It is necessary to add the construction of modern public health facilities to the Regional Development 20 by 10 policy, and complete their construction in the set year for the sake of the people in different regions, however difficult and challenging it may be. He continued, stretching that this would be regarded as the first task entrusted to the WPK and the government by the Korean Revolution and the Times. On February 28, 2024, he attended the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of regional factories in the Sungcheon County, personally handing over the regimental colors to the 124th Regiment of the Korean People's Army. And, oh, I love this. Sorry. I just want to back up. I know, I'm like rewinding the tape for a sec. I just want to back up because right here at the end of this book, we have a great example of how the Korean People's Army participates and is considered to be at the spearhead of socialist construction. They're considered to be the vanguard of the revolution in Korea. And we can see right here how they get recognized as such. You know, where imperialists will be recognized for like bombing a bunch of school children in Iran and like giving a medal for that. In Korea, soldiers are giving regimental colors and medals because they have agreed or volunteered to be part of a detachment, to be part of a battalion that is building a hospital. Right? And that's what's amazing about this part that I'm about to read right here. So on February 28th, 2024, he attended a groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of regional industry factories in Sungcheon County, personally handing over the regimental colors to the 124th Regiments of the Korean People's Army, which were newly formed to implement the Regional Development 20 by 10 policy. He expressed his greatest trust in them, saying that the 20 flags awarded to them would be adorned with great feats and unparalleled patriotic exploits of the most revolutionary army of the people. I love that. So this right here, this right here is literally a new regiment of the Korean People's Army created just for the sake of engaging this Regional Development 20 by 10 policy, in order that it will fulfill the promise of building the health complex, the leisure complex, and the factory, the regional factory, and the granary in every county of Korea, and raising the living standards of the people. Created an entire new division, a regiment of the army for this. That's fucking mind-boggling. And then, of course, also is recognizing themselves as such, giving them a 20 Flags Award. Mind-boggling, unimaginable in a dystopian country like ours. True to his trust, the Korean People's Army, the foremost guardian and creator in the country, began to play the leading role in implementing the Regional Development 20 by 10 policy. Indeed, this policy embodies his nobling intention to make selfless, devoted efforts for the good of the people. As all the people in the country make redoubled efforts to carry out the policy true to his intentions and bring forward a bright future for themselves, all the regions are changing beyond recognition. And there you go. That is on DPRK's 20 by 10 policy. Your DPRK read for today.